guys and girls. So I thought I'd do a few videos whilst in isolation, just to give people a few things to practice at home, or just a few things to watch to sort of give you a little bit better knowledge on your own golf swing. Maybe there's a few things in there that you feel like you need to work on. So take a look and enjoy. So over the top, a lot of players get this, and I see it come from quite a few different places. So it's a very difficult one to sort of say this will stop you coming over the top. But what I thought I'd do is I'd try and say look out for some areas that you'll be doing. So firstly, setup. I think setup is a crucial one. One that I see a lot of people do when they end up coming over the top is they get into what we call a reverse spine angle at the top of the backswing. So that means that the spine angle is tilted towards the target. Okay, so that's top towards the target. So head towards the target as opposed to the middle of the pelvis, closer to the target. Remember, when we're setting up, our lead side is slightly higher than the trail side. And that spine angle is one that we want to be keeping. So as we go to the top of the backswing, we should be in that position. So all that tends, a lot of cases, comes from the pelvis, very simply, just being too far over on at the start. And then also I see that be the case of someone into a very good position and their just right hamstrings really, or right leg is really sort of tight and stronger than their left, and they kind of get into this really hipsy sway move over to the right. So I tend to see that as well. So watch out for a sway. Also, I see someone who sways that doesn't also get into the right side enough, so their weight doesn't move into that right hip, into that right heel, and the depth of that turn at that right side doesn't really happen. So again, you can go back to that drill video of what that right hip's got to be doing. So those are quite common ones. Also takeaway. I see someone who kind of gets the club, and I see both sides, to be honest. I see too far out, and then it's always kind of this kind of action, and I see too far in. But what I would say is I rarely see someone who takes the club away perfectly. I wouldn't say doesn't come over the top, but I would say that someone who takes the club away pretty well, so one piece takeaway, nice wrist hinge, good plane and top of the backswing, I'd say they are so much easier to get out of moving over the top. It's not necessarily that if you do those things it will be perfect. Just golf just doesn't seem to work that way. It'd be so much easier if it did. But if you move into a good positions, if you follow a good sequence back, it's much easier to get into a good sequence on the way down. It's when you're constantly playing catch up, when you've got the club moving tons. That's probably the most common one. I think someone watches a YouTube video, they see, right, so I need the club to come in more from this way, so I'm going to start over here. What it tends to do, it gives you absolutely no room. Club face just gets wide open, and then from there, you see it go more right. So then you start swinging over the top and try and hit it left. So it's a good takeaway. Won't fix everything, but it will make it easier to fix. So as long as you follow a good trend in the backswing, I tend to find that everyone finds it a lot easier to get into a good downswing. And also it's quite a psychological barrier I think a lot of people struggle with. So sometimes it can be grip. So someone with a really weak grip, they look like they go back pretty good. All of a sudden, just whip it over the top of the back, in the back top of the downswing. So from here, they just completely arm wrestle. Sometimes the grip's in the right place, not in the right hand, and not great in the left hand. And then club face just feels open. Some players have just a good feel for the club face. So psychologically, they want to see, okay, club's here. I need that ball starting more left to account for my over the top. It's almost like a chicken and the egg thing. What do you fix first? I tend to say it's a lot better to see the ball go the place that it hasn't been going, to then be able to get over some psychological barriers. I think that's something that's so common. So when trying to fix a slice, for example, you try and get the club face in the right place. I tend to try and get the club face in the right place first, or it almost slightly offset, to the left hand side, to at least it becomes more of a strong fade, or a pull, rather than a constant leak out to the right. You want to see, when you're changing something, you want to see the ball flight change. You don't want to change something and then everything stay the same and it feel all right. That's not the idea. So you want to try and make it feel, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. You want to try and feel like it's a change, but you start the ball differently. You get a different outcome. That's what should be happening when you change your golf swing. So I would say, firstly, check all those points. Okay. Now, again, if you've got a good takeaway, good wrist set, good top of the backswing, I'm going to assume that's kind of where we're starting from. So we're going to then look back at then what the right elbow is going to do. So the right elbow is going to start by reconnecting into the downswing. If you feel this one, you need to go back to that video and really get the feeling that you're skimming a stone. You're getting that right arm moving under. This is another good drill. Hands out in front of you like that. Sorry, lead arm out in front of you like this. Club from here feels as though you're throwing a ball, and that is going under, straight down. Okay, so you feel like everything is moving in the right way. You're not allowing that arm wrestle straight in. There is another good feeling that you can get once you start getting that that start of the downswing is, again, try and think everything that you're changing, you're actually almost swinging. Say, for example, if I'm saying coming over the top for a right-handed golfer is going to go, ball's going to typically kind of slice out to the right. Sometimes I see someone with a strong grip and I see the ball go left, but I'm talking a bit more out to the right at the minute. So as I go up to the top, this is what you've been doing. Club face comes over the top, face is open, spoons out to the right. So now we're saying coming down here, and then the club is then swinging out to the right. So all of a sudden, you're hitting it right again. So that's where it might be worth then looking at changing the club face at the start of the backswing. Setup. Just have it a little bit strong. Yeah, just to start with. It's not a permanent measure, but you need to change what you're seeing. That's the biggest thing. And I see so a lot of my golfers, a lot of guys that work in London, they just don't seem to have the time. So it's got to be a big impact quick. So I think that's a great way of seeing it. So all of a sudden, if you're changing the club face and you start the ball moving left, all of a sudden it makes a bit more sense to hit out to the right. So I think that's, and psychologically, that is something that is such a barrier to get past. I think that is something that is well worth trying. So when you are trying something like this, where you're feeling that club come down, right elbow reconnects, comes under, just try it with a slightly closed club face. Just turn the club face in. Again, try and keep everything with a good grip. Go back to the grip video. Just get used to everything being in the right place. Then just turn the club face. So in essence, for stopping the over the top movement, you need to make sure club face, so in essence, you need to make sure that to try and stop coming over the top, that you've got a lot of backswing points right. They are crucial for getting the downswing right and getting the start of the downswing in the right place. And then try a couple of drills, try and get the feeling that right elbow reconnects into the downswing. Again, remember what the movement is when you're coming over the top is the shaft getting out. Okay, so the club is going to be coming here. So I tend to find that when someone gets the shaft out, handle out, that the shaft just seems to follow and they just arm wrestle into the downswing. So you're looking to get everything down here. Okay, so everything's then here, shaft angle on line with the start of the swing. Okay, so that original shaft angle down to here, and then feeling that release probably a little bit more out to the right than usual. And you've got the club face in a position to start with that means psychologically you're not going to be worried about hitting it out to the right. If anything, start off with a more closed club face and get the feeling you're starting to swing a little bit more out to the right. Again, it's the psychological barrier of doing it. And once you I use TrackMan, so once I start seeing, okay, he's actually swinging 2, 3, 4 degrees into out, and the club face is closing, so he's swinging out to the right, ball starting left though, and it's moving further left. So that is exactly what I want to see. And then I'm like, right, okay, a few more, then we're over the psychological barrier of it, then we can ease off on the club face. And then what you tend to find is then you start to swing probably a little bit left again. Square up the club face too early, straight back to what you were doing. You've got to make a big impact quick to get over the right feelings. It's not a permanent situation. You just got to get used to a certain feel into the back of the ball. Hopefully, there's something in there that you can practice at home, or at least it's just reinforcing what you already know. Or hopefully, you are when you come out of isolation, you're able to get working on it at the range. So, thanks for watching and look after yourselves.